everyone. So we are on podcast episode 14, and very, very excited for this one. We actually have Jake. How do I say it? Tacher? Tacher? How do I say that name? I need to get that right.
Well, you can call me whatever you want, Taylor, but it's Tacher.
Tacher. Okay, no worries. Well, I'll say it the right way. But yeah, Jake is actually an amazing person when it comes to SDRs, right? So he even has his own program called the SDR Whisperer program. So train setters on a team basis. Just a few examples for you as well. Has taken a team of three SDRs to a team of 15 in the SaaS space, purely cold calls as well. This wasn't even warm opt-in leads that you see in the high ticket space now, and literally did that within 8 months, which is pretty incredible. Has worked with Cole Gordon and some companies that he's been able to get from literally about 300K upwards of 1 million a month as well. And of course, right now, of course, working as a consultant, coming into companies, whether that's the sales team, the SDR team, and doing some CRO, some fractional work as well, just helping these teams to scale. So if there's anyone you want to learn from as far as like career progression as a setter, moving on, being able to find very good opportunities, Jake's definitely the man. He posts some of the best opportunities that I've seen in the space. So yeah, let's just dive in, Jake. I mean, is there anything I guess you feel would be most important to talk about today, especially for appointment sets that are watching this?
Man, maybe like, because look, the only thing that I view as important for an appointment setter is training the skills. So being in a situation where you can really train your skills, get good, because that's what's going to set you up for your career no matter where you want to go, is getting good and learning how
So,
to get good and understanding how to navigate the situation you're in. That is what I see mess up so many setters or SDRs careers, is they make a decision based on what they
yeah,
thought they saw. And, obviously you want the business owner to be the leader and communicate clearly, but if you're not an A+ setter, they might not be an A+ business owner. So you might have to, understand a little bit more of what you're looking at, what you're seeing. And so anything I think in regards to training or how to actually grow your career, how to end up on a good offer, how to a lot of the coaches out there started as closers, or AEs or whatever. And it's an interesting, I almost got promoted instead of went sideways. But it's like, how do you make those decisions? And I remember what it felt like as a setter and SDR. My first company was a big team I was a part of, and everyone was thinking about it every which way and talking about it. And so it was hard to know what to do. So I think anything in regards to that also could be helpful.
100%. And I guess, yeah, coming back towards when you was an SDR, right? Obviously, you're now at a stage where you have the capabilities of teaching people, doing some of your own stuff, living, I guess, life more on your own terms, being able to consult a little bit more. Like, what is it that you felt helped in the beginning stages of your career as an SDR that helped you to be where you are at the moment?
I mean, look, it's the same thing everyone says because they're right. I just worked harder than the other people did in the beginning. And in my first 2 weeks, I tried to rely on natural ability. I noticed that I heard people that were doing better than me that I didn't think should sound better than me. That confused me, if I'm honest. Like my competitive nature just kicked in. And after 2 weeks, cried about it to my manager, shit you not, in fucking person. And she was like, dude, you just got to be confident or whatever it was. Gave me the one
Mm,
thing. And from that point on, I was like, I'm just going to figure this thing out. Like, I don't want to lose at this. And, so that was it. That worked for me. I would listen to my calls. I listened to other people's calls all the time. Me and my buddy wrote a script that beat this Salesforce consultant script that guy got paid $1 bajillion per hour. We were consulting from Salesforce to build us a script. Our script kicked his script's ass. And I was on Friday nights in the office from 6 to 9 prospecting my own leads because that's how I had people to call. Was I had to go look for first name last initial on some website, try and find that person's name and phone number and the company it was connected to, and make sure it wasn't already in Salesforce and that it was in my segmentation of who I was allowed to call because I was enterprise. After my first month I got moved up, um, on Friday night, so that I had enough people to call on Monday morning so that I could come refreshed, just ready to start with the things that got me numbers because I knew that's what was going to help me. So um, that's what it was. It was learning how to get good, and then spending all my time either getting good or learning how to get good. That was it. That was all I did. putting a little extra in the beginning has made it, the rest of my career considerably smoother.
100%. And I think a lot of setters sometimes are looking for whatever that like magic key is, or the secret. That's obviously what's been marketed a hell of a lot nowadays. So yeah, guys, a bit of hustle, right? There's nothing up with that, especially at the start of your career. At the end of the day, when you're being amongst so many setters in the community, in the high ticket space, which is now, of course, growing, the way to stand out is just show that level of commitment, show you are so valuable to the business owner by just over delivering, not just in results. Obviously, you can't control, but it's in those actions that
Look,
you put in as well. If you over deliver
look.
there, you're already doing better than so many.
But like, don't think about giving value to the business owner. That's because if you're thinking about giving value to the business owner, the second the business owner does something to make you feel like your value wasn't appreciated, you're giving them too much power. You need to do it because you value
Very
your
true.
own fucking time. And this is your opportunity. You said yes because you thought this role could help you get something or somewhere. So
Yeah,
value your own fucking time. Value your, like, if you don't give it everything you've got, you weren't doing it right anyways. So who's to say what the issue was? And you don't want that to be a variable at all. You want to give it literally everything you've got and go in with that mindset. And obviously, like, the orange zone or what's orange theory or whatever, like, you don't necessarily need to go all the way to the red. You might not even know where that is. And that's where like a coach or a mentor, and there's plenty of good ones out there, can just help you with that. If you just, you know, I think just that's what it is like value that you're the one putting in time and energy and bought the course or put in the hours or practice those late nights or worked hard for the interview because this was your 12th interview and you finally got one. Just, you're not done. For you, you're not done. And so, like, yeah, for the business owner, but like, that's a relationship. Do it for yourself. Because that's the relationship that's
100%.
gonna get you wherever you want to go.
Totally agree. Let's dive into that then. So I guess as far as seeing your own value, obviously a lot of setters now, it kind of feels like they're contract, they're just employees oftentimes, right? With the title of being a business owner. So like your mentality is very clear of being that business owner, valuing your time really, really high. So yeah, I guess like as far as yourself going through when you was an SDR, like what did you feel was the most valuable use of your time when being in that role? Of course, the call reviews, the training, but when you was in that role, what were some of those, I guess, huge ROI activities that helped you to perform so well?
I listened to my calls in the car and at the gym.
Right. Okay.
That was a big one. I listened to or other people's calls. I was just listening to as many calls as I could. That's number one. Because it's like, think about any sport or instrument or anything you've learned. The real thing that gets you good at it is just the time spent with it. It's like, do you know the language? Do you understand what's happening? And then you can see the thing that's going on. You know, it's like trying to teach somebody a sport's tough because they don't even know what they're looking at. So you got to get to that point where you know what you're looking at, and that only comes from time. So listen to calls, try and listen to good calls. Uh, there's that. The only other thing besides listening to calls and then just making sure my pipeline was super organized and clean so that I could set follow up tasks strategically. And again, I was cold calling enterprise deals. So timing was a big factor. It was like budget, and like I literally just changed to your competitor like a month ago. It's like, all right, let me check in 9 because like, and just look out for these 3 things, but don't worry about it. Like, hopefully it goes well. And then 9 months later, that's a whatever. So that was one for me. And then the third was just practicing super fucking slow. I used to tutor. So I went to art school for music. So I went to this like small art school, got my bachelor of music, not even a bachelor of arts, but a bachelor of music in jazz. Okay. And I used to tutor music theory and like private instruction. I play guitar and I play drums. And so um, what I realized very quickly is if you just need to practice it slow so that you don't get it wrong 10 times in a row. And if you can do that so that you don't get it wrong 10 times in a row, see if you can do that 10 times in a row and then speed it up a little bit. That is the fastest way to get good, is to build a good foundation. When you go into algebra 2, only kind of half-assing algebra 1 because it was pretty easy, and then you get to algebra 2 and like you bite the bullet, what you actually need to do, and you're never going to do it in school, is go back to algebra 1 and get the foundation. I tutored that way. So I tutored a student in advanced music theory, was terrible. I started to tutor them in basic theory because I couldn't even teach them advanced theory. I could kind of trick them into some sort of bullshit, but they need to actually learn the thing. So that's what it is. It's practicing really slow to really build up a good foundation, and just practicing undistracted the right way, and learning how to practice. If you put in the same time as somebody else, the rate at which you get better is only derived by one factor, and that is how the quality of your time. So you actually need to get good at practicing. Yeah. So those were the three things for me that really helped, and I found to be highest leverage was just really intentional practice time, listening to a lot of shit, and then making sure I was on my shit so that I was organized, and like it was just easy to flow stuff around and make decisions, and it was all harbored there. So this could be used more strategically. So that's what I
That's a
think.
really good mention. It's not even just about like you were saying, being relentless with your practice and going for it, but you're also focusing on quality as well as that, guys. Like it's nice to listen to a bunch of cool recordings sometimes, but if you're not very intentional with what you're listening out for or what you're trying to gauge and understand, sometimes that's going to be what prevents your results. Sometimes, like it's understanding that the quality and intentionality of that time is sometimes everything that helps with that growth as well. Um, and I suppose now you've probably applied that into what you're doing now with teaching and training teams. And obviously the industry has shifted a lot. You mentioned obviously we're being remote since 2016, right? So you've seen all of these
Yeah.
big transitions. Like how does I guess the industry compare how it was 2016 compared to now? Like what differences have you noticed?
Yeah. So I was in more of the SaaS payments world in 2016 through kind of 2019, 2020. And interestingly enough, I feel like I kind of caught the end of the wild, wild west era of SaaS, like just the tail end of it, and then got
Okay.
more into the high ticket remote space in 2019, 2020, and was kind of like seeing right the kind of like final big surge of it, is what it felt like. Um, and now we're kind of on like some sort of tail end of it. Uh, and not entirely, but so it's actually been interesting to see. I almost swore it off entirely. I was almost done with the high ticket space, but a lot of trends in just at the end of the day, the high ticket space has been, I think, riddled with people looking for an easy fix. Like that's how a lot of stuff's marketed. So if that's how things are marketed, that's who we're attracting in. And because that's just how that works, right? It's a lot of attraction. We're literally saying, you types of people, do you want it easy? Come here. And so the trend I've seen is that like, well, if it's saturated with people who want it easy, then the differentiator is not information, it's not knowledge. Everyone kind of knows how it's supposed to go. It's actually just being good now, which is great, I think. Like, and I'm seeing some cool stuff happening in the space. There's a lot of business owners I really respect in it, and cool things that are getting built, and people who did it one way that are trying to do it another way. So, what that means, I think, for a setter is just because your buddy got to 12K a month like right away, like that might still be possible, but it might not be as likely. Just because your closer coach was on a dope offer where he made 40K a month right away doesn't necessarily mean that. And what is he good too? Probably is. Probably have to be good and be at the right place to hit 40K a month, which is what everyone knows. And so if the competition's, thicker or whatever, or like things are more level, you probably just have to beat that. Like, what's your competitive advantage then to that situation? So I've seen that happen more, which I think is good. Um, you know, and it's going to matter for the business owners also. So the good ones only want to go to the good
100%.
ones. You know,
100%. And I definitely agree about like I guess it kind of being just flushed with lots of people that want it easy, right? And in fact, that kind of makes things easier to stand out now. I find it's even more easy to stand out if you're a good
dude,
setter now than maybe
if
previously.
you're
So
just,
that's
by the
been
way, if you're
nuts.
just like a really hungry setter who just loves ripping dials, has experience, a little bit of proof, and like will just go work hard and like wants to learn and kick ass, hit me up, man. Like there's like where are you guys at, bro? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes the
doesn't seem like
leads
many.
aren't like sometimes the leads are like hard or whatever. It's like, well, what the fuck are you in the role for? If the leads weren't hard, the application would do your job. So like, like you should actually want to be as different from that application as possible if you don't want to get replaced by it. So it's just what it is. So
100%. It's like expectation management, right? Like at the end of the day, sometimes I think setters come in, obviously they see the marketing of 3 to 4 hours a day, 5K a month at least. And it's the reality. The reality is at the beginning, it's probably not going to be that way. Obviously, outside hours alongside work hours is what dictates success often for setters as well. So, like,
totally.
what would be your realistic expectations for not just setters who are totally new? I get a lot of people that are currently setters, but for those guys that are still fairly new, this is still fairly fresh, like 3 to 6 months in, like what expectations do you think that they should have being at this stage of their careers to help them progress?
You need to be practicing and putting in extra time at least 3 days a week, maybe more. But the more important thing than whether you do it 3 days a week or 5 days a week, 7 days a week, is that and this is time where you're actually thinking. You're like challenging yourself in some way, shape, or form. You're testing yourself. Okay. Um, or just trying to rip something in and say it more and more, but you're actually there's like a purpose to it. I think more than the frequency in the week is understanding you're going to be doing 3 times a week, 5 times a week, whatever it is, for another year to year and a half, maybe two. Because look, like, what are you going to like hop from this role to another setter role and you think you're just going to know how to do it right away? It doesn't exactly work that way. Do you think you're going to become a closer and then it's just going to be you made it? No, actually, ask your buddies who've become closers who can't get on a fucking good offer because they can't quite get it right. And is it them? Is the other? And it's like, dude, like a good closer would just be able to close. It's just how that works. And so at least you would show that. And so like that's going to take time. You're going to need to practice a lot to get good at that. They're going to be a whole slew of things you don't even realize you're not good at that come up. It's a whole other skill set you're adding
Yeah,
on. And so and another level that you need on everything. And so at the end of the day, you're just going to be doing this for a while. And that's what you need to commit to in your mind. Give it fucking everything for 2 to 3 years. And my guess is whatever the thing is you actually really think you want, like deep down that you're actually afraid to say out loud, will become extremely possible, probably an option. So I'm, like, dude, like I didn't think I wanted to be doing this thing. I didn't realize it, but, and then I did. And then I was glad, you know, like at the end of the day. And so I thought I was just going to want to be a fractional guy doing 2 to 3 deals, making 20 to 30K a month on the beach in Mexico. So that's what the original plan was, And
yeah,
so
sure.
now it's like something completely different and I'm stoked on it. And that happens for a lot of guys. Like I see a lot of guys in the space that's how it goes. And I think that's really fun. It's just being fully committed to what you're doing is what will get you to the next step because that's what each step will require in an increasing fashion. So if you can't be all in on your setterness right now, you definitely won't be able to be as a closer. And like you think it'll be more worth it, but you actually the muscle will be weaker, and it will need to be as
Yeah,
strong as it needs to be for the next level, not for the current level. So that's the issue, and you won't realize it. See it happen all the time. So
yeah.
I guess that's my main piece of
That's
advice.
absolutely
Is
major.
just work out,
Absolutely
like
major.
get better and stronger. Both. You're going to
Yeah,
need both because there's going to be a time where you're not good enough and you'll need to be strong, and there'll be a time where you would just rather not. The other option's better and works better and smarter and smoother and less energy. And so it's just you just gotta have to have both. You're gonna need the work ethic and the skill for
100%.
years.
And obviously, it's led to where you are now. Like, and the setters here, obviously, usually setting is promoted as more of a springboard onto something, right? To lead to different opportunities, whether that's closing, management, being at the C-suite level. And so, obviously, where you've made that transition that a lot of setters are wanting to get to, like what were some of the, I guess, of course, alongside performing, proving yourself to perform, like what were some other things that you did to help you gradually transition into doing what you are doing now?
So when I was an SDR at the first company I was at, 50 SDRs, 10% were hitting quota. It was not good. And so, and like management was making some interesting decisions, middle management, and it was a big 300, public company. So I would walk up and down the aisles every single day and check in with all the SDRs. At the time, I knew it was my most dead time to make calls. So that's one thing that helped them see me as a potential leadership candidate. Now, I didn't really want to be in leadership in that company. When I went to the next company, where I was the first account executive there with another guy, and when we hired our next guy, I just started training him. I just started doing all onboarding shit with him, just coaching him. Why? Because I knew I did want to be in leadership at that company. So I just tried to make it super obvious by doing my job really well, never having any sort of dip in numbers in my job. In fact, there was a point in time where at that company, we had 12 reps. I was still taking full book of inbound leads. I was managing the 12 reps and, helping with other departments regularly. And my numbers were 1 or 2 in pretty much every category. There's one guy there that was pretty good also, which is great because he was on my team, and did really great numbers. Eventually, I think probably broke my records, but I just and then like was just handling it. Like that's what it is. It's like collaborative. So that, and then also understanding the position of the both. If you can understand the position of the both sides, which is the hardest thing as a manager when there's up and down, you can translate, but you gotta understand as a leader, you are there to be a part of the vision. Now that is like your line. Like there's this line and there's this line. You're going from here to here. So you got to understand this, and then you got to like help it go this way before you're here and you're like fighting this thing all the time. And so you want to make that as smooth as possible. So if you can do that as an individual and just be the best or the top, be in the top, be the best, and then help everyone else be better. That's what the role is. So if you can do that, they're going to want you to be that person. In fact, your time as helping other people is so much more leveraged, especially if they go, dude, can you find another guy like you and get him as good as you? And you go, yeah. So that's the best way. In my
Love
opinion.
it. All right. Well, I wish we had more time, but that was so valuable, Jake. Thank you for sharing all of
Yeah,
that
no
with
problem.
us. And yeah, as far as going through these episodes, we're going to have more and more of these. Of course, make sure to comment your takeaways from this because there's so many valuable nuggets, not just for setters, but even for business owners who want to learn how to, obviously find good setters, make sure that they're managed effectively, and how to upskill them as well. So yeah, of course, like the video as well, share it. You need to get more of this knowledge about because setting unfortunately has wrong expectations. We need to market it the right way. But
Yep.
yeah, that's everything, guys. And then on to the next episode. Thank you so much as well, Jake.
We'll see you out there.
See ya.